Welcome to the course Design of Reinforced Concrete Structures. Myself, S. Kranti Vijaya, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Vigyan Institute of Information Technology, Duvada. In this lecture, we'll discuss regarding the footings and what are the IS code recommendations for the design of isolated footings. So first we'll see what is footing. So what in a structure, what will have, there will be portion above the ground level which is called as a superstructure, and there will be a portion below the ground level, and that portion is called as a substructure or the foundation. So what generally in the structures we'll have the superstructure and the substructure. So superstructure is something which is above the ground level and substructure is something which is below the ground level. So that substructure below the ground level is called as foundations or footings. So which you can see here. So these are the foundations which will be below the ground level, which are below the ground level. So those are called as footings. So now we'll see what is the importance or the significance of the foundations. So what is the importance of foundations? The foundations are meant to safely transmit the loads as well as the moments from the superstructure to the soil. Okay, so what? The foundations are meant for transferring the loads and the moments from the superstructure to the soil such that the pressure on the soil does not exceed the bearing capacity of the soil. That is the bearing capacity in the sense here it is the safe bearing capacity of the soil. So that is one significance of the foundation. So foundation will take all the loads from the superstructure and it will safely carry to the ground below or the soil below. And the next one is to ensure safety with respect to the permissible settlement as well as tilting, overturning and uplift pressure, etc. So what does that mean? So foundations are meant to ensure the safety because all the building, the superstructure and all, it is based, all the loads will be transferred to the foundation. Okay, so it ensures, okay, the safety with respect to permissible settlement. That is, it should not settle or it should not tilt and overturn or it should not uplift the pressure. If all these parameters, if it happens, then what it will happen? All the superstructure, it will fail. So the foundation should be designed in such a way so that they can resist all these things and they can provide the adequate safety. So now let us see what is the types of foundations we have. So we have isolated footing. So what are the isolated footings? If only one single column, if it is resting on a foundation like this, then such kind of footings are called as isolated footings. And the isolated footings can be either a square footing, we can have the rectangular footings and as well as the circular footing. So if you can see here, this is a square footing, this is being the rectangular footing and this is the circular footing. So if one column, if it is resting on that particular footing, then it is called as an isolated footing. So the next type of footing is a combined footing. So what is a combined footing? If suppose here you can see two columns, isn't or not? So if the footing of this column is overlapping with the footing of this column, okay, if both the footings are being overlapped, then such kind of situations, what they will do is, they will give a combined footing to both the columns. So such kind of footings are called as combined footings, and the combined footings, they can be either rectangular, oval shaped or trapezoidal shaped. So here you can see the rectangular footing as well as the trapezoidal footing. So oval footing in the sense you will have the oval shape footings. So these are the combined footings. So the next type of footing is the strip footing, and the other one is a strap footing. So when you can see the strip footing and the strap footing. So when there are load bearing walls, okay, to distribute the loads equally in such kind of situations, you'll have a continuous reinforced concrete footing. So this footing, okay, which will be wider than the load bearing wall. So such type of footings are called as the strip footings. Now coming to the strap footings. So when we'll have the strap footings is the two footings will be joined with the help of a strap, that is with the help of a beam, and such type of footings are called as strap footings. Now we'll see the next type of footing, which is a mat footing or a raft footing. So when we'll go for the raft footing or the mat footing, so here in this particular footing, the footing is laid in the form of a mat, that is in the form of a thick concrete slab. So such kind of footings are called as raft footing or the mat footing. So when the loads are heavy, that is the load which has to be transferred is more, okay, in such kind of cases you will go for the mat foundation or the raft foundation. That is, the footings will be placed in the form of a mat or a raft. So regarding all this, you will detailedly learn in your geotechnical engineering. Just this is a basic of what the different types of footings are. Okay. So the next type of footing is a pile foundation. So the pile foundations comes under the deep foundations. So when these pile foundations are used when the soil is very loose or if the soil is very weak. In such kind of situations we are going to use these pile foundations. So how these pile foundations will be here is, these are the piles which you can see here, okay. So these piles will be laid along the soil until there is a hard strata at the bottom, okay. So all the loads from the column, okay, will be transferred to a pile cap. The pile cap connects a number of piles, okay, and from the pile cap the loads will be transferred to the piles, and from the piles it will be transferred to the hard strata which is beneath it. So a pile foundation is something where you lay piles until a hard strata comes at the bottom and all the loads are transferred to the hard strata. So when you will use this pile foundations, when the soil surrounding these piles are, if it is very loose or very weak, then we will go for the pile foundations. So pile foundations comes under the deep foundations. And the next type of foundation is a well foundation, and well foundations can generally be seen in the bridges, okay, when we are constructing bridges and all, when the foundations has to be laid in the water, then in such situations a well foundation can be laid, and well foundation also comes under the deep foundations, okay. So here we will have the hard strata. To the hard strata all the loads will be transferred. So that is the well foundation. So these are all the different types of foundation. But in our DRCS the design, we are going to see the design of isolated footing. How an isolated footing has to be designed is what we are going to discuss. Now we will see the IS codal recommendations for the design of isolated footings. So now let us see the IS codal recommendations for the design of isolated footings. So first, what for the design of isolated footings, we have to determine the thickness of the footing, and for the thickness of the footing the IS code has recommended a value, and it should not be less than that. Now let us see what is the value which is recommended by IS 456-2000. Now what the thickness of the footing, okay, IS code has recommended the thickness shall not be less than 150 mm for footings, okay. For on soils, if the footing is laying on the soils, then it should not be less than 150 mm, and it should not be less than 300 mm if the footing is on the top of the pile. So for pile foundations, the thickness of the footing, it should not be less than 300 mm, and for isolated footings. So isolated footings in the sense are what? When the loads are very less, then we will use the isolated, when the loads are very less and if the soil is very strong, that is the safe bearing capacity of the soil. If it is more, it is strong, then what we will use the isolated footings, and those footings will be rested on the soil directly. So for such kind of soils, for footings, the thickness should not be less than 150 mm. So after finding out the thickness of the footing, what we have to do? We have to calculate the bending moments and the shear forces. So IS code recommends that the critical bending moment has to be taken at the face of the column. For suppose if this is a footing and if this is the column, okay, IS code recommends that the bending moment should be taken at the face of this particular column. Okay, either you can take in this direction or either it can be taken in this direction also. Okay, if it is a rectangular column, the critical section to be taken along the longer span. So along the longer span, you have to take the critical section. This is the critical section for calculating the maximum bending moment. Okay, for if it is a square column, then in one direction we can calculate the bending moment, it will be applicable to the other, but if it is a rectangular column, the bending moment has to be calculated for both the directions. So what we have discussed now, that the maximum bending moment will be taken at the face of the column. So it is given here, that is, it should be taken at the face of the column. Okay, so now after calculating the bending moment, what we have to design the footing for one-way shear and two-way shear. That is, the check for the one-way shear as well as the two-way shear has to be done. So how the one-way shear and the two-way shear checks has to be done? What are the critical sections we have to consider as per IS 456/2000? Now we will discuss that. For one-way shear, that is for the check for the one-way shear, the critical section has to be taken, okay, at a distance of D from the face of the column. Okay, so here we are going to consider the critical section when for the one-way shear. Okay, so what it should be taken at a distance of D from the face of the column. And for the two-way shear, okay, for the check for the two-way shear, the critical section, it should be taken from a distance of D/2 from the face of the column. So from here D/2, and from here it will be D/2, and from here also it will be D/2, and from here also it will be D/2. So on all the sides, all the faces of the column, okay, we have to take the critical section at a distance of D/2, 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 D/2. Because why? Because here only what is happening, the column two-way shear is also called as a punching shear. So what here, as we have the column, the critical section, there is chances for this column to punch into the footing. So for that reason, the IS code has recommended to take a distance of D/2 on all the sides of the on all the faces of the column for the two-way shear. And these are the IS codal recommendations which are given for check for one-way shear and two-way shear. So let us see. We have discussed for one-way shear what the IS code has recommended to take the critical section at a distance of D from the face of the column. So that point is given here. So at a distance equal to the effective depth of the footing from footing. So what, at a distance of D we have to consider the critical section for one-way shear. And now what, for the design of reinforcement in the footing, okay, the tensile reinforcement, okay, it is to be provided in the footing, isn't it or not? The reinforcement we have to provide. So if it is a square footing, then the reinforcement will be distributed along both the directions equally. But if it is a rectangular footing, the reinforcement has to be distributed in a different way. How the reinforcement has to be distributed, it is given in this particular clause. So what the tensile reinforcement which has to be provided in the footing, okay, in one way reinforced footing, the reinforcement will be extended in each direction and it will be distributed uniformly, okay. But for two-way reinforced square footings, okay, the reinforcement will be extending in each direction and it shall be distributed uniformly along the full width of the footing. But when you will come for the rectangular footings, okay, we have to distribute the reinforcement separately for the central bandwidth and the edge bandwidth. That is, if there is a rectangular footing, okay, we have to calculate the central bandwidth. The equation for calculating the central bandwidth is given below. The reinforcement should be provided for the central bandwidth separately and for the edge bandwidth separately. So this is the edge bandwidth and this is the central bandwidth, and the reinforcement has to be calculated individually for these two when we are providing the reinforcement in the shorter direction, okay. So how to calculate this and all, we are going to see in the problem while solving the problem. And let us see the IS code recommendation which has given to take the critical section at a distance of d by 2 from the for the two-way shear. For two-way shear, what we have discussed, that the critical section has to be taken at a distance of d by 2 from the face of the column, and that particular point is also mentioned in IS 456. It is given here. So the critical section for shear shall be at a distance of d by 2 from the periphery of the column. So from this particular point we have taken the distance d by 2 for the shear. So while designing of the footing, what we have to do, we have to find out the thickness of the footing, then we have to provide the tensile reinforcement which we have seen the clause, and then we have to check for the one-way shear as well as the two-way shear, and all these steps has to be followed for the design of the isolated footings, okay. So we will discuss the problem in the next class. We will see how individually we have to calculate the reinforcement for the central bandwidth and as well as for the edge bandwidth and all we will discuss in the problem. Thank you.